Les vrais héros, ce sont les gens simples.
The real heroes are the ordinary people who are born and disappear without having ever been heard of, but who form the world we live in.
Welcome to the heart and soul of a house, the house of Taittinger. Bubbles, poetic moments, historical memories, a family spirit. Vous préférez que je vous appelle comment? What should I call you? Pierre Emmanuel, rather than Mr. Taittinger?
Pierre Emmanuel.
Pierre Emmanuel.
Si ça vous va.
If you like.
Heroes are not just characters from a novel. Pierre Emmanuel Taittinger has met more than a few in his life.
Heroes are, indeed, the vitamins, the power, the energy, the soul, an ideal. It is natural that Taittinger is the champagne of the Order of the Libération, for example. It was some 1,000 of General de Gaulle's fellows, often killed in combat, who fought under unbelievable circumstances in World War II and resisted at a time when France seemed to be forsaken, and thoroughly drained by the suffering of the First World War. These are the heroes who fascinate me because they show us the way when everything is going wrong. They show us light even in the darkest night. They are eternal sources of inspiration from which to draw energy and, above all, the ambition needed to achieve the ideal you want to reach.
Mesdames, Messieurs, nous avons le regret de vous informer que nous sommes dans l'obligation de suspendre le spectacle, la région parisienne venant d'être mise en état d'alerte. Veuillez donc gagner sans hâte les abris qui vous ont été indiqués. Notre personnel vous guidera. Vous avez tout le temps nécessaire.
In your family, you have heroes, for example, and not only in your eyes, they actually did act heroically.
In my family, there was an archangel, Michel, who, upon graduating from the École Polytechnique at the age of 20, found himself in June 1940 in a unit with some 20 soldiers, primarily from sub-Saharan and northern Africa. As a second lieutenant, he learned how to command his 2-horse artillery batteries, and on the 15th of June 1940, when France seemed abandoned with its leadership either overwhelmed or incompetent, Michel sent his personal effects, his baptism medal, amongst other things, to his parents, writing, "Where I am going I will no longer need anything." And then he calmly waited for the enemy. He was 20 years old, and his men, they managed to hold back a German panzer division for 5 hours and caused considerable losses to the enemy. With his last 2 shells, he managed to blow up his 2 batteries. Upon hearing the Germans demand his surrender, he simply replied no, and was killed by a hail of machine gun fire in hand-to-hand combat just 3 days before the signing of the 1940 armistice and de Gaulle's appeal of 18th of June. You see, that hero made a big impression on me. It is for that reason that I wanted to buy back Taittinger Champagne when it was put up for sale and then bought by an American group. Others joined me on my mission to buy it back, members of the house, staff, clients, the Champagne region, my brothers and sisters, of course, my father and my mother, but it was especially with the thought of Michel. And then afterwards, this vision of a hero I have integrated into my dreams, my thoughts. For me, the older I get, the more I think that heroes are ordinary folk who work and work extremely well.
Ne me dis pas que tu m'adores, embrasse-moi de temps en temps, un mot d'amour.
All around you, even in your company, you have heroes, everyday heroes. These are the ones who affect you, right?
When I see a cleaning woman who works from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. to ensure that our offices are clean and who's generally beyond retirement age but continues to work because she has a child or a grandchild on unemployment, it's for them that I love working in this company. These are the issues that interest me, and somehow I come to the admiration I have for my father, who was a wonderful politician, who never wanted the Legion of Honor, glory, or medals, but who nevertheless served as Keeper of the Seals, Minister of Justice for a great President, Georges Pompidou, who pronounced the splendid phrase, "The only thing I want the French people to remember about my presidency is that it was said, 'In Pompidou's time, France was happy.'" I really like that. It is so true, and my father was exactly like that. He was an extraordinary character who was concerned with only one thing, the well-being of the Reims population, for whom he worked tirelessly day and night for 18 years. He was never defeated. He then went into business, always with the idea to glorify and make things beautiful, to revamp all the major luxury hotels of that time, putting revolving doors everywhere. He had a great appreciation for heritage, growth, humanity. He often told me, "I was elected by the most ordinary people in Reims." those who needed to see change, who needed lodging, who needed to no longer feel the cold, who were hungry or needed jobs. He was elected time after time by those some call the little people. My mother was a poet and a real artist, with no prestigious diplomas, but who always read the local news, and when she would see some horrible incident, like a woman who, in a fit of pique, threw her children out the window, a truly horrendous incident, she would go and see my father and tell him, "Jean, see to this woman. Everyone is going to turn their back on her, and she's going to be judged and everything, but she is the one who needs some help." And he would always listen to her. He always paid attention to what she said. He was among the first to support a bill in favor of permitting abortion. At that time it was no little thing, and 3 months afterward, when Simone Weil presented the bill to the National Assembly, the first thing she did was to pay tribute to Jean Taittinger, my father. He was the first to pronounce an extraordinary speech at the time of the Laissez-les Vivre Association, an anti-abortion movement. He concluded his speech by asserting that it was first and foremost those women who should be defended. And I remember that he told me that the bill had not been passed that day, that it was missing several votes, but that the person who would present it again in several months would make sure it passed. And that person was Simone Weil. So my father meant a lot to me. He was of great service to General de Gaulle and Pompidou, but he was always very modest. He cared greatly for his city, much more than for his ministerial positions, which he accepted in order to help out and serve his country. Incidentally, as Secretary of State for the budget, he drafted and signed the last 3 balanced budgets in France. He believed in respect for public funds and for money in general. A penny saved is a penny earned, and so for him, a budget should always be balanced. If housewives and companies were expected to balance their budgets, he considered that the state should serve as an example.
And then there is your longtime friend, who you consider to be the ultimate hero.
A last hero indeed, who was a great inspiration for me. I knew him from the champagne world since he headed up a rival but friendly champagne house. And then one day, that man came to Chamonix for a weekend with his wife, and we finished by meeting up. We started practicing a sport together which, at the time, was just taking off and which is known as paragliding. We did our first paragliding jumps together. I wasn't very good at it. I didn't know how to manage my wings, and so I quickly gave it up after several accidents proved that I wasn't made for that sport. But he kept it up and became a great paraglider. And then one day he took off on a very complicated flight and ended up a quadriplegic with both arms and legs paralyzed. This man became extremely well known the world over. His name is Philippe Pozzo di Borgo. His story inspired the French movie Les Intouchables and the American remake The Upside, a magnificent film that tells the story of Philippe and his caregiver Abdel Salou. I know Philippe very well, and I visit him as often as possible. He lives in Morocco now. He has an absolutely incredible life, and it is for that reason I consider him to be a consummate hero. He is the consummate hero because he is a fighter who continuously reconciles himself with his body, with his life. He sends an exceptional message to fragile people the world over. He is a perfect reference. Michel, my uncle who left us prematurely, and Philippe, who is more alive than ever, are for me the consummate heroes of modern times.
Voilà, c'est une référence absolue. Michel, mon oncle, qui nous a quittés, et Philippe, qui est vivant plus que jamais, et qui, et pour moi, incarne le héros absolu des temps modernes.